Welcome back, Titans. I hope you're having a good time grinding and getting your light up to prepare for those Grandmasters, because all I've really been doing is trying to make builds for Grandmaster, and I'm kind of slacking on my light level. But I did put together 5 builds, all crammed into this one video. They all have similarities, so I didn't want to make 5 separate videos, because by the 5th one, you'd probably just wish they were all crammed into one, because they're basically the identical build, minus the exotics and stuff. But let's get into it and I'll go over all of it, and I'll explain why I'm probably going to be starting to main the Titan using controlled demolition with the mid-tree void. Whenever you mark targets by hitting them with your abilities, they blow up, it blows up the goo on everybody else, you get melee and grenade energy, and you heal yourself as well as your team on top of all that, getting the same benefits from it. Another cool feature that mid-tree void has is it kind of gives you healthy finisher in a way. If you finish a marked target, then you get healed off that, and then it blows up on everybody else that's around, and then they get marked, and then the cycle repeats itself. And then mid-tree solar, because of the throwing hammer, basically because of the unstoppable melee, it kind of acts like flared up from last season, where you get your melee back when you do it on an unstoppable, but you basically just do this on anybody, and when you pick the hammer back up, it gives you your melee back and it heals you on top of that if you did damage with the hammer. And then roaring flames, which is pretty OP for damage anyways, times 1 is 30%, times 2 is 69%, and then times 3 is over double the damage, over 100% of damage basically. That's with the 1 hammer, and then 2 hammers. Basically times 3 is 1/3 of rocket damage, to kind of break it down that way. But it really is beneficial when you use things like thermite grenade, which is the grenade that I recommend for all these builds you'll see today, and then also the void wall grenade for void class. When it comes to Grandmaster activities, I don't use my super that much, but when you have roaring flames active with the super, so if ads collapsing on top of you and they get killed while you're in that super, that over 100% damage also will apply to your super and can crush targets. We're going to be going over a lot of situations, but let's start it off with the banger first. So when I make any build, it's always built on those common situations that I'm in, and when I'm going through battle and slaying away and just trying to stay alive basically. And that's the reason that I'm using the mid-tree void with those healing properties, and it's also the reason that I'm using quick charge, because I use a lot of fusion rifles. And then to go with that, I'm also going to be using the oppressive darkness, I'm using better already, I'm using high energy fire, and then for Grandmaster activity, I'm going to be pairing quick charge with shield break charge, because the hardest enemies in Grandmaster are the ones with shields on them. So no matter if I'm against a champion with counter charge or any kind of shielded target, I always want to make sure that I can charge light against them and not only have to rely on picking up orbs. And that's why I didn't choose to have taking charge over shield break charge with the room that I have on my build. With quick charge, I can always get charged with light just by slaying things with my fusion rifles, which happens all the time. So I've always got a way to do bonus damage or a way to protect myself using protective light, because of how easy it is for me to get charged with light. And then on top of that, I got the oppressive darkness to go with my rocket launcher, and then a taken spec, and then I have better already, and then the almighty Doomfang pauldrons. When people use Doomfang, it's not because of the melee getting your supercharge back or whatever, especially in Grandmaster activity. It's for the longevity of the super and the healing property on top of that, as well as the blocking. Watch how much super energy that I get, and watch my health meter as I'm tackling these unstoppable champions. When they're trying to kill me, I can just keep throwing the super, and right when it's about to end, I can throw it one more time and get that extra little 5 seconds or 10 seconds or however long it's going to be, and not die because of that. And any of my teammates that are around are also getting benefits from recharge rates and the healing property to go with that. But it's really because of the longevity, and I've done some of the hardest activities in game because of Doomfang pauldrons making it possible with that longevity of the super. And that's why today it still remains one of my top 3 favorite builds in the entire game, just because of the longevity of the super, not because of the melee getting me super energy back. But another benefit on this build is going to be better already. So whenever I have protective light and I have orbs laying around, even though I'm not using taking charge, I am right here because I'm in a dungeon. But if it was a Grandmaster, it'd be shield break over taking charge. But I can always get charged with light, like I was saying, with quick charge, and I'm always making orbs with Telesto. So when it comes to dungeon activities, having taking charge outweighs the benefit of shield break charge, and that's why they're in the order that they are. Now let's move on to the next build, which is going to be the Fire Banger, which is similar to Doomfang with slight variations. The same thing with shield break charge and taking charge. And there's also a variation with the class item that I'll explain, because since Hollow Fire Heart is my chest piece and I can't put quick charge on it because it's an exotic, I had to move quick charge down to the class item, and because of that I can't have better already, so I'm using outreach to unlock the second perk of quick charge, and then I'm having special finisher this time, and then I have the minor or major resist on there as well. Now when it comes to Hollow Fire, the reason that I use it and why I think it's one of the best solar exotics is obvious reasons, because of the recharge rates. I have a tier 8 recharge rate, so I'll have a 30-second stock grenade and then a 15.3 second whenever I have my super charged. And as I was saying earlier, I don't use my super that much in Grandmaster, so I'm always reaping the benefits of having a charged super and getting maximum recharge rates because of that. What made me gravitate towards Middle Tree is because of the throwing hammer and making it a great solo build as well as a team build, but it was mainly for the solo aspect versus these ogres this season, because you can't use really any other type melee that doesn't have range because they kind of glitch. If you try to melee them with like a regular type of melee, they'll usually stomp the ground and immediately kill you. I can keep getting my hammer back by picking it up, and I can also keep healing myself on top of that. The solar build is probably going to be used for anti-barrier unstoppable nightfalls, such as the Nocris Nightfall that you're seeing right here. This is 1036 light gameplay versus 1080 champions, and it's barely enough bullets to break the anti-barrier shield. And I actually found out that if you mix in a few body shots and crit shots, you're more likely to bust a shield than by hitting all crit shots. I know that makes zero sense, but I studied the footage and ran it back over and over again, and whenever I would do a little bit of a body shot and then mix in the headshot, for some reason the shield would get busted at that point. It makes no sense, I get it, but as soon as you bust it one time, you're gonna get that 20% bonus damage, 28 if you're using a major spec, and if you're doing any type of Taken Nightfall, you can get the Taken spec from the Last Wish chest if you choose to farm those out between now and the time that the Grandmaster that's Taken comes out, like the Festering Core or the Corrupted, or you get it. But when it comes to any build that I make, I want to make them so I can get function out of them almost 100% of the time, and that's what you get with these quick charge builds. Hollow Fire's got the incredible recharge rates, Doomfane's got the longevity for the super going for it, and then when you mix in the subclass perks and all that they have, you pretty much have these things charged with light all the time, and that's what I try to build out for. Situations that I know I'm going to get myself into, and how I can build benefit into those situations. Here's an example of this situation right here versus these 1080 ads, and I'm only 1036, so keep that in mind. That's a 44 light difference, and I can still control these ads with shield disorient. I got charged with light when I busted that shield, and I got my own shield busted, which then gave me the protective light, and then Jotun to the rescue with that tracking and that hard hitting, and then again, same situation. Rocket launcher control by hitting these ads, I get charged with light again, I'm putting out bonus damage, and if I get hit back, I'm going to have that protection all over again. That's what makes these the strongest ad clear builds for this season in my opinion, just because of how they revolve around each other the entire time through battle. No matter what kind of difficulty you're faced against, you can control all these situations and stay charged with light, and that's why I like quick charge so much. It plays into the ad clear role perfectly, and then here's Hollow Fire's recharge rate with that grenade, which it wouldn't have been back in time if I didn't have Hollow Fire on right here. And then I have Roaring Flames to set up this grenade, so when Thermite Grenade I can jump over these ads, kill the Thrall, and then have Jotun's bonus damage on top of that with its flame damage, and then I'm charged with light again after they're dead because they burnt out. So for anti-barrier and unstoppable nightfalls, it's going to be the solar build, and then for overload unstoppable, it's going to be the void, the banger build. Now here's a variation build that comes in clutch midway through the prophecy dungeon, and this goes back to the previous season using cells. I'm taking off high energy fire, and I'm also taking off the shield break charge or the taking charge, and replacing it with the Wrath of Rasputin and Fireteam Medic when I get halfway through the prophecy dungeon. Again, using Jotun for the tracking and for the range because of all the snipers. But every time you see any Taken put up a small blight, you can shoot that and have Wrath of Rasputin on if you have a solar weapon, and it'll always make a cell, which is really beneficial to have when it comes to the ad clear roll again, because every time you make those cells and then you do a rocket on top of that cell, you're going to heal yourself, the entire team, and it's going to blast away every ad that's in the area that isn't an orange or a yellow bar. But every little small ad that's in the way, it's going to be just dead immediately. And then, like I said, you're going to get your health back, and you're going to be a real lifesaver on your team because you're also going to be healing them on top of that. And having an ad clear roll in this dungeon, really midway through, I didn't find this build to be very useful until I got to the upside down room and then forward past that. But definitely for this area, you want to have somebody with this roll on because it's so easy to make cells. It almost feels like you have Tyrant on again, but the ads are the Tyrant, and they're going to be creating these blights all the time. This also works with the Aquila weapons that drop from the prophecy, or any kind of Seraph weapon. So if you want to use the hand cannon, or any kind of weapon basically that's Aquila or Seraph, it works. I still recommend using Jotun though, and a solar rocket, just because of the tracking and the snipers and that immediate just blow them up damage you get from rockets. Just really pairs well together. I wanted to include that build, even though it's kind of a universal class, but how it's put together in that screenshot worked wonders whenever we did the dungeon. These last two builds were inspired by the Titan, but they're actually an all Guardian class build, so it goes for any Void or any Solar subclass. I still recommend mid-tree for both of those, and then for the non-Grandmaster and for the Grandmaster, taking charge or shield break charge. But the main feature here is going to be quick charge, and then on top of that, stacks on stacks. So every time you get quick charge active or break a shield in a Grandmaster Nightfall, you're going to be charged with light times 2. Here's that same situation that played out earlier, but this time when I break the shield, I got the times 2 charge, so then I got the bonus damage, and then I got my shield busted, so this time I have a 9-second timer instead of 5, and then I hit that better already orb, so now I'm healed. And what I like about this solar version over the hollow fire is I can use perks like better already, because quick charge can stay on the chest piece. I got charged with light by breaking his shield, and then because I killed the knight and the Jotun splash damage killed the acolyte next to him, I then get charged with light again times 2. Out of all the builds today, these last two are probably my favorite. Even though they don't have exotics on them, I can still fit room in for things that are almost better than exotics by having that times 2. Normally when I get charged with light with a quick charge, I'll kill an ad and then it goes away, and then I always have to get a kill and it goes away. So I never really get a times 2 charge that much, because as soon as I get charged with light, I'm killing the next ad to make it go away. So then I have nothing left over for protective light. It's either kill the ad with 20% damage or get hit and let my shield get busted and let the protective light fall off by having the 5-second timer. But with this, I get the best of both worlds. I can have times 2 charge, kill one ad with 20% damage, and then if I get hit by any other ads, I have that backup plan for the protective light to kick in. But in my opinion, every build in this video today, aside from the dungeon one, but as far as the Grandmaster ones, all have their own equal benefit that makes them kind of an equal build in their own way, if that makes sense. The auto rifle that I'm using is Overflow and Unrelenting, so every 3 kills that I get healed off of it, as you saw in these thrall right here. This is probably going to be the main anti-barrier weapon that I use this season, just because of the fact that I can get 72 rounds with it, and being negative 25 light under is going to be really beneficial against champions. That way I can just spam 72 rounds out and don't have to worry about if it's the last bullet to break their shield or whatever. And I'm not going to use my primary weapon that much against harder hitting ads. It's going to be meant for like the small acolytes or small thrall to kill anything with an auto rifle in a Grandmaster sense. So by having 72 rounds in that sense and the healing property, just to proc it on little ads like that is going to be real beneficial this season. I can already tell whenever I was gathering all the data and footage for these builds. But if you come across Overflow and Unrelenting, no matter what the other perks are, it's pretty sick when you pull it out and you get 72 rounds and a lot of thrall or little ads running at you. It just seems like it lasts forever because of the fire rate that it is. But for this part of the video, I'm going to show you why I have all the perks and mods on the pieces that I do, because of how it makes sense to swap seamlessly from all 4 builds. So right now I'm on the Void version of this, not the Doomfang version. If I want to put the Doomfang version on, I'm going to drop stacks on stacks and put Doomfangs, and everything else is going to remain exactly the same. Now if I want to go to the solar version of this build, I'll put the solar subclass on, and then I'll change the chest piece first. Since I won't have overload grenades, I'll need Inferno Whip for the unstoppable melee, and then for the class item, I won't have oppressive darkness. So I'll be taking oppressive darkness off and then putting on special finisher, and those are the only changes that I'll be needing to make, only because the subclasses are different. Now let's say that we want to put on the Hollow Fire Heart build, so we switch that on. It already has Inferno Whip, but since quick charge was on our chest piece, we now have to have an entirely different class item that's an arc affinity, so we can put quick charge on it. And then all we do is we take a protective light and move it to the arm piece, and then remove stacks on stacks, since stacks on stacks was basically a luxury item and we can't afford it because we're using Hollow Fire Heart, and protective light is more beneficial than stacks on stacks. And that goes back to the order of importance of things we actually need in our build versus things that we don't actually need but are beneficial. And since we can't afford it, we got to take it off, because protective light is definitely going to be needed more than having an extra stack of light. And then quick charge is going to be our main feature to get us charged with light on top of shield break charge. And then high energy fire to give us our bonus damage. And then when it comes to the arc class item, we can't afford to have better already, because better already is not better than quick charge. So hopefully that makes sense of the order of importance on your build. But that's why I chose those perks to go on those specific pieces. That way I save glimmer and I save time. I don't have to carry around a bunch of different armor pieces. It's just 2 changes basically on 2 different pieces, and voila, you got 4 builds ready to go. But thanks again, Guardian, for taking the time out and watching this. If you scroll over to the About section, you can actually join our Discord and chat with me, ask me any questions anytime, and chat with other Guardians just like you that die hard Destiny every day to get that light up and get their daily grind going for those Grandmasters, which I'm way behind and I need to catch up. I don't even know if I'm going to be ready for a Grandmaster, to be honest. I've been building so much with all these new mods and perks, trying to figure out what works for in-game activity and what doesn't, and just been kind of a pain. But thanks again for tuning in. If you want to join our B Squad, I highly appreciate all you who take your time out to support this channel. My name's Ristopoulos, and I'll see you all on the next video next time.
It splits.